Hey, what's up? Welcome back. It's episode 12 and I'm flying solo today because unfortunately Pat's been out of action for a couple of days. So we've bumped the Q&A to next week, and I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about what I've been working on with the pups for the last couple of weeks, which is pretty much tracking, shaping, luring, searching, and play. I think that's about it. So we'll start off with tracking. In previous episodes, we've talked about how there's always a bit of a rough transition between article indications and them understanding to actually follow their nose on that track until they get to the article and then to indicate. So the way I help them with this is within one session, I set up a number of very short tracks, fairly close together, so it's very quick to get to each one. And we go through them in quick succession. So they start on one, they know exactly what they're doing, but they don't get to repeat that track. I don't drag them back and let them go forward again. I straight away take them to the next one and they go forward just that little bit, find the article, indicate, we go to the next one. So this helps them understand that there's no more of me dragging you back and you going forward, because obviously after you drag them back, those following reps, they know where the article is. So it makes each rep following that easier. And that's not what's going to happen later on. Like, they're just going to have to go on one track one time, and that's it. So this kind of helps them with that process, and I'm really happy with how they've done. And now what's happening is we put them at the start of the track, they go forward. Now they do question themselves a little bit. Sometimes in the middle, they'll turn around and they'll look to me for a bit of guidance. It's really important that I don't do anything in that moment, because if I start to coach them and go, it's this way, buddy, then the dog's not using their nose, they're looking to me to guide them, and that's not going to work later on. So we try to avoid that. I just don't let them succeed in doing anything else, but they're starting to work it out. They'll get back to the track, they'll eventually find that article. However, when they find the article, sometimes what happens is they go, yep, I got it. I forget what I do now. And they sort of just freeze there a little bit. And once they wait there for long enough, they might look to me and go like, are you going to mark? Are you going to give the food? Or, what's happening? Because they know they found it. They've just forgotten the actual down portion of the indication. So that's not a problem. That'll just develop over time and they'll get more fluent in the whole process. But they're progressing really well, and I'm really happy with that. The other kind of scent work we're working on is searching. So we talked about it in a previous episode where we start to throw a toy into, say, long grass or something like that, where they can't actually see where it lands. They have to then go find it and bring it back. So it's still in the format of play and in a retrieve, but the idea is that it starts to build up their hunt drive and their desire to continue searching for something. So that's slowly getting harder. It's still pretty basic at the moment. I'm kind of restricted on where I can do that. With the weather at the moment, it's been so hot, I'm concerned about snakes in the area that I live. So we aren't going to risk it in that time. Also then on other days where I've gone out to do it, they've mown the grass that I usually throw the toys in. So that was a bit of a problem. But as I get more chances, we'll do that more and more. And over time, it'll get more and more difficult where the distance will be much further. The toy will be out there for longer, and then I'll bring the dog out and go find it. And there'll be a lot more ways to challenge this. But right now it's still pretty basic, but slowly progressing. In addition to the searching that we're doing, we're still playing some fetch and retrieve games. We'll just use any toys for that. It doesn't really matter. What's important is that they're understanding it's not about the object or the toy that we're playing with. It's about the actual game with me. We're also still doing some work with a ball on a string. We're also doing a little bit of work with a tube tug and a little bit with the cube, but not so much because they're pretty much gummy bears right now. Like, Peter's lost 3 teeth in the last 3 days, and I have all 3 teeth because I was there as he was losing them. Thankfully, they weren't in play or anything like that. I don't want to risk anything like that. So when I use the ball, we use a smaller one than this. It kind of just sits in their mouth a little bit easier. They don't have to be gripping it and things like that. And when I'm playing, it's all about the show. I'm putting on the act. I'm being a good decoy where I'm making it look like I'm really trying to take it, but there's minimal pressure actually going through. So that's to make them feel good. It's to give them the outlet and everything, but trying to really minimize the stress that I'm putting on their teeth. And the reason I use the tube tug is because with the material, it's cheating a little bit. They can kind of hold on to it a little bit more, but it also allows them the option if they do want to actually chomp down on it, which some days, despite their teeth like falling out, they do actually just want to compress down on something. So this allows them to do that. So I can give them a bit of an outlet, but give them what they need in terms of their teeth as well, if they're showing that. But it is something I'm trying to be really careful about. So we've been doing less play than what we probably normally do, but we've added in more luring and shaping. So we touched on the start of shaping in a previous episode, and they started going to the marker board, and now they're starting to really understand that they need to go to that marker board, they need to stand on it, and they're starting to learn that they need to look at me as well. It's really interesting watching both of them go through the process, because obviously, they have their own way of learning things and their own speed of learning things. I've actually just put together a video that'll be on my channel, so we'll have to put a link somewhere. It goes into a lot more detail than what I can go into here. It shows 4 out of 5 uncut sessions of them going to that marker board, showing each of their progress, explaining why I was marking at different points, what the criteria of each session was, and things like that. So if you're interested in more shaping things, definitely check that out. We've also been doing the luring. So it's really important that they understand luring is just another tool. That's another form of communication for me. So we've now started they've got the basics. They understand to follow the lure, not to, annihilate my hand and things like that. They know it's a form of communication, and they're starting to now work on some more unnatural movements, but we may want to see them later, so we introduce them now. And it's all about them just trying to work with me and find out what it is that I want. A lot of these require food as the reward. So it's a bit of a juggling act to decide what you're going to be working on each day between the tracking, the luring, and the shaping. But the play, we just do as much as they need, but it's based a lot on how they're feeling on the day and their teeth and things like that. So I think that's about it. If you enjoyed today's episode, let us know in the comments and consider subscribing to our channels. They'll be on one of the sides here. There'll also be a playlist and maybe another video that you might be interested in. Stay tuned for next week. We're going to have a Q&A. So if you have any questions for that, leave that in the comments as well. And until next time, see ya. Good girl. Hey? Oh, yeah.